everybody. Welcome back to A Good Day to Bake. On today's episode, we are focusing on the difference that the amount of time you cream the butter and the sugars together and recipes makes on the final product. So you will see 3 different versions of creaming. The first one is where really it's just leaving the butter in there long enough to mix the butter and the sugars together. The next one, we're gonna let it mix on medium speed for about 1.5 minutes. And then the last one, we're actually gonna let it mix for 4 to 5 minutes, which is what a lot of people would recommend if you want a really airy cookie. I usually go for that 1.5 to 2 minute range, but we are gonna do all 3 today to see the difference in the cookies in the very end. All right, so first step, we'll take the first butter. Obviously, it's already been softened. Maybe quite a bit, actually. All right, so we've got the butter. We have the brown sugar and the regular sugar. Turn it on. Usually this is at medium speed, and since I am using a KitchenAid, that is speed 4 on my mixer, so I will turn it on. And this one, remember, is just the basic one where we're only gonna have it on long enough to mix the butter and the sugars together, so no creaming at all. So there we have mixed together butter and sugars. Since we are all experts in making chocolate chip cookies at this point, I am just gonna rush through the next steps of the process. Add the egg, making sure not to break any shells. 1 egg this time since it's a half recipe. Turn it on until it's mixed together. And the vanilla, scrape down the sides. It's gonna be trickier. Give it a good scrape. Finish mixing, and then we can start adding in flour mixtures. Turn that back on. All right, there we go. Don't see any egg. Scrape it down. Add in the flour. All right, scrape it off. Make sure it's mixed. Add in the chocolate chips. And then we are done with this one. Once we get those set to bake, we will work on batch 2, where we cream them together for a little longer. And chocolate chips, I went with a very, very precise measuring method there of just holding the bag at what I'm guessing is half. Okay. Now we'll get these ready, get them in the oven, and then we'll come back for the next batch that we are going to cream the butter for 1.5 minutes, maybe 2 minutes, and then we'll get those baking as well. Okay, mixing bowl is ready for round 2. Softened butter. Sugar and brown sugar. All right, so we're gonna turn it on. We're gonna get them mixed together, and then we're gonna time the creaming for about 1.5 minutes once we see them mixed together. Okay, so we'll start counting down 1.5 minutes about now. Maybe we'll go 2 minutes. Yeah, maybe we'll go 2 minutes. already see it start to change in color. Definitely a lot smoother than the last one. That's only 1 minute. All right, give it about another 30 seconds or so and then we'll turn it off. You see it also getting fluffier as well. Definitely a big difference from just mixing them together. Go ahead and turn it off. That was about 1 minute and 45 seconds. Okay, so we will go ahead, scrape it down, get the egg ready. You can see how soft it is too. Oh yeah. The texture of it is so different. Okay, so let's add in our egg and our vanilla. Trying to make sure we crack the egg the right way. Don't get any shell in the mixture. Half a teaspoon of vanilla. And turn it on. Well, and we're already done. So you can already tell a difference there as well with how quickly the egg incorporated into everything else. So we'll do first bit of flour. And remember, how many bits of flour you do at a time is really up to you. It doesn't change anything, just as long as you make sure you don't overmix it. All right, add in the chocolate chips. Give it one last little go. To get it mixed in. Okay, and this batch is ready to be put on the tray and put in the oven. Okay, that batch is in the oven. Now for the last one, where we are going to cream it for 4 to 5 minutes. Depends on how it looks and kind of my mood with it too. All right, butter and sugar in. Turn it on, and we will start the timer once it's all mixed together. All right, we'll start the timer now. We'll start it at 4 minutes. We'll see how it looks at 4 minutes. This is about the point that we turned it off the last time. You should start seeing it get much fluffier, much lighter in color. Think whipped butter. That's essentially what it is. So I touched on it a little bit in the A Good Day to Bake a Chocolate Chip Cookie video, but the reason why the creaming process is so important is because when you do this with the butter and the sugar, it helps to make sure that the sugar has a chance to properly melt into everything once it's in the oven. And it also helps with the aeration. The aeration is what helps the cookies to rise and get that nice fluffy texture. So that's the reason why so much focus is put into ensuring that you cream them together properly. You can see it's definitely a lot lighter in color than it was when we started. We're about 3.5 minutes in. See how fluffy it is too. Okay, about 4.5 minutes. I think we'll go ahead and call it good there and see how these turn out. Okay, so we will scrape down. There we go. Oh yeah, super soft. All right, add in our egg. only because there's a camera on me. Was there even the hesitation that that egg might not have cracked properly? Half a teaspoon of vanilla. Mix it until just combined. That's pretty good. Last bit, then we scrape. Add the chocolate chips and get it in the oven. Get our chocolate chips ready. Again, with our super exact measurement of guessing where about half the bag would be and just pinching it off with our hand. I am of the mindset you can't ever have too many chocolate chips, so I think it'll be okay. And there we have it. That batch is done. Now we'll get it in the oven and then we will compare all 3 sets. Okay, so we are back. All cookies are now done baking and you can definitely see a difference between each of them. This batch here is the first batch that we did with no creaming at all. This batch right here is batch 2, where we did the creaming for 1.5 minutes. You can already tell the difference in them. The middle part of the cookie here is definitely a lot thicker and it didn't flatten out nearly as much as these did here. You can see how they sunk in the middle and it almost turned the chocolate chips into mountains, basically peaks in the cookies. They still taste good, but they don't look as pretty as batch 2 does. And then batch 3, where we did the creaming for 4.5 minutes, you can tell the difference even more. So they definitely expanded a lot more. Now they are still a little warm, so we'll see how they do after they completely cool. But you can see big difference in really no creaming at all compared to the rest of them. So the final test here, I have 1 of each. So this is batch 1 with the no creaming, batch 2 with 1.5 minutes, batch 3 with the 4.5 minutes. So now we're gonna crack them open and see the inside. So when you look at this one close up, you can see it's not very thick. You can see those really chocolate chip peaks that I was referring to earlier. Again, still tastes delicious. There we go. And when you open it up on the inside, it still looks really good. It's just not a super thick cookie. This is batch 2. So when we look at it from the side, compare it side by side, you can see the difference in the density already. And then when we open it up, there we go. It's a lot thicker than that first one. And then the last cookie, batch 3, 4.5 minutes. It's still pretty hot. Probably should have waited a little bit more. So this one, still really hot. It's actually pretty gooey in the middle, which is the perfect time to eat a cookie. So it definitely looks better than the first one. But when you compare the density between it and batch number 2 is still the denser cookie. So this is why I personally like the 1.5 minutes of creaming, because this is my kind of cookie. This is what I really enjoy. Everybody loves their cookies differently. So this really just gives you a good visual of cookie number 1, cookie number 2, cookie number 3, and then using that to decide what works best for you. What kind of cookie do you like? Do you like the denser one like this that's still soft, but you get more of that cookie flavor? Do you like one like this where the cookie's flatter and you really get a lot of that chocolate chip flavor because of those chocolate chip peaks? Or do you like this one where it's kind of an in-between of the two? So it's up to you. But I want to thank everybody for joining me today as this one falls apart in my hand. Hopefully y'all learned a lot in this and you now have a good idea of how you want to make your cookies. Appreciate y'all joining me and look forward to seeing y'all next time.